Over the course of the last 10 years, we've seen a massive influx in research with concussions. I think all of us can relate to the fact that due to a number of high-profile cases within the NFL, this has drove a number of studies looking at how football affects concussion rates. As a result of that, we've realized a substantial decrease in participation within youth football leagues. We've recognized this within our own local league here in Gillette, Wyoming. As such, we've made the decision of investing in prevention programming within our own league to help facilitate participation and keeping our athletes safe. When we look of our phase one interventions that'll be rolled out with coaches, we're going to be looking at all the evidence-based measures and behavioral interventions that we're able to do to help facilitate a safe league. And that starts with heads-up coaching certification. Within this intervention, there's a number of drills that eliminate a number of the adverse events that occur with high-speed contact and substitutes it with equitably safe and skill-driven drills. With it, due to the fact that we're starting an intervention without any sort of data tracking in the past, we're going to begin our endeavors within tracking the raw volume of concussions so that we can help drive future phases of this program. When we look at the current stakeholders, we're fortunate as a youth football league in that we have been ran fiscally responsible and have a number of dollars that we're able to reinvest in our league. And we've decided to double down on that and do so. So when you look at the current stakeholders, it is those community members that are directly involved in the care of our young athletes. We do recognize, being in rural Wyoming, that we have an opportunity to meet several demographic needs in current literature, where we may find ourselves developing a program that's usable throughout the state of Wyoming and potentially nationally. And as such, we recognize there is the future potential for a more investment-minded stakeholder. So, as we look at concussions, we know that concussions are underreported and are occurring more often than is even being tracked. And there's a number of reasons that is. There's misunderstanding as to what a concussion is. Obviously, there's some misinformation or behaviors of which concussions are not quite the injury that we know them to be in the minds of some adults and players. And furthermore, just within medicine, there's no universally agreed upon diagnostic term. But we have a lot at stake with these sort of injuries. In that, when we mismanage concussions or we don't do the diligence of preventing them, we have seen that the adult brain from that athlete can be adversely affected. However, the good news is behavioral-based coaching interventions have been shown to prevent concussions. So as such, help that to drive what it is that our league needs. First and foremost, there's no formal concussion programming in the state of Wyoming, not even at the high school level. We do know in the current literature that there is a socioeconomic disparity as well as minimal programming in the rural U.S., and we fit both of those bills. We do recognize as well that there is an issue in isolated, blocked out interventions that really haven't been looked at in combination with each other. So there is a need for multiple phase programming. And with our first phase, we're intervening at the coaching level, bringing in the heads up through USA Football. Furthermore, there's been no evidence or research looking at any sort of framework to develop this programming. The good thing is we do have a history of having to develop these programs and this framework on the run. And the information, motivation, behavioral model fits that bill. When we look at the IMB model, it was grown out of the infancy in the late 80s and early 90s of the HIV crisis. And it was a model that was simple to use. It's very logical. It builds programs from the ground up, and it's geared towards positive behavioral change. The fortunate thing in the HIV crisis is this model did show positive behavioral change towards prevention. Our initial coaching objectives is really in two camps. Number one, we have a camp of goals that we know are 100% attainable because we can mandate it. Heads up coaching certification, compliance and reporting suspected concussions. The other camp is more along the behavioral intervention and coaching line, utilizing safe technique, performing weekly equipment checks. And as such, through the season, we are going to be stepping up the goal expectations of intervening and applying those behaviors to protect our athletes, with the end season goal of 100% compliance. So when we go to implement this plan, we have a pre-season implementation that helps guide our in-season implementation. So we've already assigned and trained a player safety coach, and they will be carrying a lot of that raw data collection, observation work in tandem with what the USA Football organization recommends from that individual. All of our board members have become certified as equipment checkers so that we can help facilitate and support our coaches in doing the same with their weekly equipment checks and attaining that heads-up certification. As we move into this season, we have a mandated preseason meeting. In that meeting, the needs analysis questionnaire, so we have insight on behaviors and motivations, and roll out our program so that it's specific towards some of those concerns and questions our coaches have. Our player safety coach is committed to attending practices and games to help track that data and support our coaches as they grow throughout the season in promoting safety. And then using that data to roll out future phases. We look at what our future needs are. At this point, our evaluation is going to be summative in nature. We're collecting a lot of information, whether it's the volume of concussions or that observation checklist of how that behavioral change in technique, equipment fitting is working out, and addressing those concerns as they come along through our player safety coach. We know that it's going to be an ongoing behavioral change, and we're committed to that continuous assessment. Finally, our goal is to use this data collection to drive our Phase 2 program, which will be interventions and education that's focused at the parent level. Thank you for your time, and I enjoyed getting to meet and work with all of you this year. Take care.